Hey guys, welcome to Cow Corner Cricket Cast. This is part two of the analysis on the IPL finals. This is Rohan. Um, Unfortunately, due to travel, it was hard for us to record yesterday, so this is my recording of the match and my thoughts on it. And I, as a CSK fan, was very happy that we won. Obviously, this is sort of the last time that this team is going to be together. Everyone from Stephen Fleming to Emma Stoney has been sort of saying that this was sort of the last go around for this group of players. Emma Stoney came out after the match and said um, something said to the effect that he wants to make sure that we focus on retaining young players for the future, so that way we can build the next core after the auction. Um, and so that's sort of the background of this match. It's a last hurrah for the Dad's Brigade, as sometimes CSK is disparagingly referred to. But as a CSK fan, it was sad to see some players go, but my God, did they go out in the best way possible. Um, Personally, I think that the performance by the two guys I think are most likely to be retained from the batting unit are Faf du Plessis and Ruturaj Gaikwad, who were just sublime today. They just did everything that you needed them to do as batsmen and as openers. Um, and incidentally, they finished 1 and 2 in the purple cap. And as was noted, they scored over half of CSK's total runs this tournament. So, as a CSK fan, it is very good to see that sort of energy from those two guys and see them do this in a big clutch situation. And they were well supported. Robin Uthappa came in at number three, batting up the order a bit, and really went after um, the sort of middle overs and got a good 30 for himself. And Moeen Ali and Faf saw the team home, or the 30 from Faf and the 70 from sorry, not 30 from Faf, the 30 from Moeen and the 70 from Faf. In a sense, I think that was well put and well put together. The team batted as CSK does, which is with partnerships, with aggressive running and good boundary hitting. They also benefited from some poor captaincy from Owen Morgan, who, um, not just saying, totally mismanaged his bowling attack, and that in turn led to them getting really, really hit hard by CSK's top order. Um, there, in sort of a sad way, there was no time no personal glory for a batsman of Mahendra Singh Dhoni or Ambati Rayudu, or Suresh Raina even, who have been loyal servants to the club for over a decade at this point. Um, you know, it was sad to see them not get a chance to play, but there's a reason why it's probably likely that all three are not going to be retained, and all three either will retire or move on to another club. And I personally wish them the best of luck. That said, I want to talk a little bit about Faf, because he has been incredible. The last two times CSK have won an IPL, he has opened the batting. Um, Last time he was outshone by Shane Watson, who batted with a bad leg and managed to score a century to win a match against Mumbai in a big match too. While CSK's well, in this match he was CSK's best batsman and arguably best player, with a fantastic 80 odd. Um, but I think really what needs to be said is, if he and Gaikwad, who won the orange cap by the way, so good on Ruturaj for getting that. Uh, if those two guys stay with CSK, there's a good chance that CSK ends up winning an IPL going forward in the next 3 or 4 years if they continue their current form. Um, So let's move on to the second innings, which is somewhat disappointing, but also very good in a way for KKR. Venkatesh Iyer and Shubman Gill showed why they've been so good in Dubai and the UAE generally on a pretty good batting track. After all, CSK just scored 190. There was good bounce. There was a little bit of turn, a little bit of movement off the deck, not too much. But they really, really, really went after it. As a CSK fan, I was watching while I was in transit, and I was impressed by how well Gill and Iyer were really striking the ball and really taking advantage of the fact that there wasn't too much danger on this wicket. Once they get out, however, KKR's traditional problems of not really being able to consolidate in the middle orders and attack towards the death really, really hurt this team. We have seen CSK lose a match from a position in which they've scored 190 runs after a great opening partnership. This didn't happen this time because I don't think KKR has that middle order. Rajasthan had the middle order, they had the top order, who could also do that, but they didn't have the middle order, and that's really what hurt them and really what's cost them a title this time. I think the thing that we have to talk about when we look at that middle order collapse is the decision making of both captains. Tripathi had been injured in the first innings, so there was some thought about potentially moving him up the order. I mentioned Shane Watson just a few minutes ago, and Watson was injured as well in that 2019 IPL final. But the difference was that CSK decided to let him open the batting, and gave him a mandate basically just to hit out. I personally thought that that's what KKR should do with Tripathi, either send him in as the opener or send him in first drop and just tell him to hit for the word go. It doesn't matter if he gets out because he can't really run, so there's not really much of a risk. But if he gets 30 runs here and gets the momentum back, 30 off 15 or something like that, 30 off 18 even, and gets the momentum back in their favor, that's worth it. That's worth the risk of him getting out and losing his wicket. They didn't do that. They instead batted in their traditional order, and I think that's really what cost them this match. Owen Morgan as a captain is a captain who likes formulas. He likes organized, planned out cricket that has been thought out before the match has even been played, before a ball has been bowled. He wants to have won the match mathematically, on paper. Now, this works really well. There's a reason why England was rated the number one side in the world. It's because it's a really sensible formula, and if you execute it well, it works. But there's a problem to that. You need to have all of your pieces, and all of your pieces need to fire. He hasn't been able to get all of his pieces to fire. That's in this match, and that's been a problem. Whereas if you look at the other side of the equation, and in fact you can see this in the first inning, by the way. If you look at the decision to bowl Shakib first up, it's been working really well for them in Sharjah, and when they came over to play in Dubai, it didn't really go that well, and immediately got dealt with because this wicket was not very helpful for bowlers. On the other end, you can look at MS Dhoni, right, who's probably going to be remembered as one of the great captains of the IPL, and definitely going to be remembered as one of the great captains of the Indian cricket team. If Morgan is a planned out captain, Dhoni is much less planned out. Dhoni does plan, but he accepts the fact that the plan doesn't mean that isn't a suicide pact, right? It isn't something that he has to abide by whenever and wherever the plan is used. CSK has a plan. They've used this plan for the last 5 years, right? They open with Chahar and one other pacer, unless it's a really spinning wicket, in which case a spinner comes in. So they did that. Then normally they go to their third seamer and a spinner, saving Dwayne Bravo for the death, because Dwayne Bravo is one of the best bowlers in the world at bowling in the death. this time they mix it up. There's a concept in baseball, which I think they may have taken a note from, which is funny considering Owen Morgan's old boss was a huge fan of baseball and analytics. But the idea is during a clutch match, there's a time that you may need to bowl your best bowler, not in the situation in which he is normally used. So, for example, in baseball, this is normally done with a closer. So they bring in a closer in the ninth inning, the last inning of a game, basically to do what death bowlers do in cricket: stop the other team from scoring runs and get 3 outs quickly. In baseball, because that's how you advance the game. In cricket, obviously, death bowler just bowls to keep the runs down. CSK has a closer in that sense in Dwayne Bravo. The decision of the team was to, okay, it's the 6th over, but this partnership, if it's still here by the 10th over and scoring at this rate, there's a good chance we lose this match. So why not bring in our best bowler at preventing runs, Bravo, and give him the opportunity to bowl to stop the flow of runs. And he bowls an over in which I believe he goes for 4 runs in the 6th over, right after the power play, really killing the momentum of a rampant opening batting lineup. And that in turn led to the collapse, which in turn led to CSK winning the match. That's the sort of lateral thinking that CSK and MS Dhoni and Stephen Fleming have been using for the last few since they came together as part of a team in Chennai, to really win IPL matches and really control the IPL. If you look at the other teams in the IPL, you have Mumbai, who are the best team in the IPL, in my view. I still think that. I think that this was a down year for them. A lot of their players had probably the worst seasons of their career. And then you have Delhi, who are probably the most talented team, naturally talented team with some fantastic players. Then you have Chennai, who have to sort of laterally think and maneuver their way around matches, and I think that was really what was shown in this match, and that's why they won this IPL. But moving on to sort of my conclusions and takeaways, going to sort of wrap up the season and really look ahead to the next ones and to the auction. CSK saw what was probably the last farewell of a whole bunch of veteran players. Who knows if Dwayne Bravo is going to be back? Who knows if MS Dhoni is going to be back? Who knows if Suresh Raina is going to be back? Or Ambati Raidu, or even Faf, or Jadeja, right? But this was sort of the last call for them. But they went out on top, and I think that's something that's big for a lot of athletes, but especially for cricketers of the caliber of guys like Dhoni and Bravo, right? They went out as champions. They went out as the guys that you can never take that away from them. But there's still hope, especially with guys like Gaikwad, who are probably going to be retained and is the reigning orange cap holder. And that really showed that there is a future. And as a CSK fan, I think that was somewhat comforting. If CSK, it sounds like Dhoni will still be around the team. It sounds like Fleming is going to stay. So at least there's going to be that continuity. But hopefully that means that they have the ability to build. And they've already said they're committed to building for the future, but hopefully they build properly and we don't get stuck in a Rajasthan situation where we're constantly and perpetually rebuilding our squad. But I'm gonna celebrate this. I think this was a fantastic accomplishment by this entire team, and what they've done is incredible. Really winning 4 IPLs together, without really being the biggest and the richest team in the IPL. That says a lot about the team. It says a lot about their organization, about the management. It says quite a bit that they did this oftentimes without not necessarily having the best team in the IPL. So with that, I'm going to move on to KKR, because I think KKR has to really take a long look at themselves in the mirror. They had this match in the bag. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They had this match in the bag. They probably could have won this match. They've seen CSK lose this match before, but they all underperformed. They were underutilized. They were wrongly utilized, and that in the end really is what cost them in this match. It wasn't that CSK is a better team. I don't. I think personally, I think even as a one-eyed CSK fan, I think CSK was at best the fourth or fifth best team in this IPL in terms of the players. They had obviously the fantastic opening batsmen, but if your opening batsmen are scoring 53% of your runs in the IPL, that's not necessarily a good thing. That means that you have deficiencies down your order. It means that you have deficiencies at the death. It means that you're asking a lot of two guys to carry most of the load. So there is that. KKR again also has a similar thing. I believe 51% of the runs came from their opening batsmen. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Iyer and Shubman Gill are fantastic batsmen, so it's less of a trade-off. But again, the problem is that they aren't reacting to situations as well. In the IPL, the teams that win either are really, really, really good, like Mumbai, or they are the teams that are the best suited to play the situation, not necessarily the game, not necessarily their opposition, right? So CSK is a classic example of this. That are the Rajasthan Royals side that won the first IPL, classic example of this. They were the team that was not necessarily the best team on paper, but they were the best team in the IPL at playing the situation as it changed. And I don't know if they can change that without changing Morgan, because when Tripathi got injured, the decision making from that point on was very lacking. I don't know if they can change that because the bowling situation, the bowling decision making. Let's give Shakib a bowl early, right? Or and generally that stuff just didn't really work. It wasn't really thought out. It wasn't carefully considered, considering the opposition, considering the environment, considering the conditions of the match, to give them the best chance to win. Because teams that win the IPL are the teams that also play the conditions pretty well, or they're just really, really good. And KKR has a really good young team, but again, you can't keep all of those players. A lot of them might go into the auction pretty high up. And again, part of the issue with this team is that their middle order is pretty old and experienced, and they just didn't perform. Part of it is just because they misutilized certain players. They used Shakib Al Hassan, who's in my view one of the great one-man wrecking crews in international cricket. The man is basically the entire Bangladeshi team, with like two other guys in that squad. And they just didn't use him, and didn't use him properly. They used him as a spin bowler. That was fine. That's what he is. But when they used him, when they were batting, they batted him at 7, which makes no sense. Because Shakib is a proper batsman. He knows how to bat. He holds his bat quite well. People forget he top scored in the group stages in the World Cup just 2 years ago. So what's the reasoning for him not playing up the order, especially considering Dinesh Karthik and Owen Morgan were just genuinely terrible so far this, especially in the second half of the IPL. They just never showed any intention of scoring runs. So if I'm KKR, I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, okay, what do I have to change going into this auction? Who do I protect and who do I let go? That's just a difficult discussion to have, considering one of the people that you might want to let go is your skipper, because Morgan might be holding this team back, and there's no pleasant way of saying that other than just saying that he might be. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching, and obviously like, comment, and subscribe, and see you guys next time.